Hello, hello, and welcome to Wealth Wisdom Financial. So glad you're here. And I know you're going to love today's conversation with Katrina, hostess of with the mostess of the podcast, The Magic Within. And you know how much I believe that so much wisdom lies within ourselves, not external to us. And I just love Katrina's story and how she discovered that and how you might be inspired by it too. So we'll have the full bio for her and links to her podcast below here. Scroll down for those. While you're doing that, like, subscribe, all those fun things. But I'm going to pass the baton on to Katrina. Please introduce yourself to folks. Tell us where you're coming from, what you think people should know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you. So my name is Katrina Lelli, and I'm a spiritual life guide. I'm also a mom to 3, married to my husband for the last 13 and a half years. I've been sober and in recovery for the last 12 years, been on this spiritual journey for quite some time, and just really excited to be here, coming in from Washington State on the west side. So yeah, excited to have this conversation.
Is that near like Spokane?
That's on the east side. That's
okay.
about
okay.
hours.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yep. Nope.
Directions. Yep. That makes sense. Okay. So near Seattle, more closer to Seattle side.
Yep. South of Seattle.
Okay, sweet. Love that area. Hopefully it's not raining there today. That's what everyone always thinks, right, about Seattle.
Yeah, it's a little drizzly, just a little bit. But yesterday the sun was out, so I'm good with it.
Good. Well, I am looking forward to hearing more about what a spiritual life guide does. But before we get there, take us back. There were little parts of your story that were really intriguing. Like, where should we start? What do you feel like is like one of those early pivotal moments? I'm adding too many syllables to that word. Pivotal moments that really shapes who you've become today.
Wow. There's a lot to my story, and I would say, growing up in a home that was toxic and alcoholics, and the underlying theme of most of my life was always knowing that there was more for me. Mm-hmm. And yet I felt so much like an outsider, like people wouldn't get me, like I wouldn't fit in. And I ended up turning to drugs and alcohol. Alcohol was my drug of choice for a very long time. And I got sober 12 years ago. And that's when my life really started to shift around. That's when I really started to find my way in this world. And it wasn't easy. It definitely was not easy. It took some outside support for me. I went into treatment, and that's where I really got to start to figure out who I was without outside things influencing me. And it wasn't until later that I discovered, people were actually my first drug of choice, and they followed me through my own recovery, codependency, the attachment to, and I got sober when my twins were 18 months old, went away for 28 days. And that's also where I had my first spiritual, oh my gosh, God's got me. There's something bigger than myself out there really watching over me. And that was important to know, that I could believe whatever it is that I wanted to. I didn't have to conform or believe in what everybody else thought. And so my journey has taken twists and turns when it comes to that. I always believed that there was a God who lived in the sky, and he was guiding me. And then I also believed he was punishing at times. I don't believe that today, but that's where my journey really started to shift, where I really knew that there was more for me, and I started to learn how to tune into that.
Yeah, there's so much to your story, but the thing that really I'm reflecting on right now is the whole idea of people pleasing. And that led you down this path that you needed to recover from. And that leads so many people to, kind of what they say, spend money on things to impress people that they don't like, or things that they don't need to impress people they don't like. And that often looking externally to other people gets us into a lot of trouble. How did that, as you've come now on the other side of it, how have you combated and continue to combat wanting to people to like you and to not like look down on you or that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a daily act of intention of coming home to who I am and knowing myself and trusting that, knowing that it's safe to be all of who I am. That means including the inner critic, the self doubt, the fear, the feeling like I might be too much. And when I came into a better understanding of myself, that there is like this little girl that resides within me who wanted that love and attention that she felt she didn't receive growing up. And knowing that I truly am the only person that can give me that safety, that love that I've been looking for and trying to find in other people. And I
Mhm.
was a chameleon for a long time. Like I would conform to whomever I was hanging out with, especially going through junior high and high school. And when I was able to, start to give myself that love and understand like there's these little girls inside of me who are acting out, I could see that in other people as well. Like
Mhm.
there are other people who are out there doing just their very best. And that's what I've been doing all along, the very best I knew how with my own tools. And when I could start to look at people in my life who had affected me in a negative light and see like my mom or my dad and like, oh my gosh, they are doing the very best that they can. And there's a little mom, there's a little dad running around in there who have their own story, who have their own traumas, who have their own experiences. And when we relive our life, because for a very long time, there were a couple of stories, victim stories that I held on to. Well, if you knew the way I grew up, this is why
Mhm.
I am the way that I am.
Mhm.
But when we can start to take an observatory view of our stories and realize we are not our stories, we are not those things, and it supports us in not attaching to those things because we all want to find meaning. We all want to find the why the way we are. This is why this happened. But becoming that observatory of our thoughts, of those stories, allows us to have a different understanding of who we are. And it just takes practice. Like it takes a lot of practice. It takes boundaries for myself with other people and learning what will I accept? What will I not accept? What are the beliefs that I'm carrying around? And are those really my beliefs? Is that really truly what I believe? So becoming like a professional investigator and making the decision like I don't want to believe that anymore. I choose not to live this way anymore.
Yeah. Yes, there's so much, about money there, like, we believe so many
Yeah.
things about money just because everyone says we should believe them. Give me an example, like, what's one of those things, whether it's related to money or not, that you're like, "I believed that, and I don't anymore because of some of that investigative work that you were doing."
Yeah. One of those was that you had to work really, really hard for your money.
Mm.
You know, my dad had a job. He worked really hard. My mom had two jobs all throughout growing up, and that you had to work really, really hard. And my parents didn't talk a lot about money with us. They didn't teach me much about money. When I got my first car, my mom put $2,000 down on it, and then I had to get a job and pay for everything else after that. And what I realized today is I don't have to work so hard. And I don't, you know what? I don't even have to go have a 9 to 5 job. We live in a world today where there is so much opportunity and creativity available that things are shifting. And it took a really, really long time. And this is a lesson I'm still learning how to do. Like, I don't have to go do all of the things. Doing more doesn't equal my worth. Doing more doesn't mean that more people are going to pay attention or that it doesn't validate me anymore. It's who am I being? How am I showing up? What are the things I want to call in? Is money really that important to me? Yeah, it is important to me. It provides choices. It doesn't bring happiness though. I mean,
Yeah.
the choices bring happiness, but it doesn't. Money doesn't
It's not
equal
the money.
happiness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because you could take the same money and make a different choice with it, and it can
Yeah.
end up a totally different way. Yeah, that's a big one. I kinda wish sometimes there was a 28-day program for workaholics like myself, because I would sign up, and sometimes we need that kinda detox or whatever. I look forward to the day I get to almost do like a sabbatical kind of thing, but also, like, figuring out how to work that into my day-to-day life as well.
Yeah.
So I that's definitely something I struggle with too, that
Yeah.
you gotta work for your money, and the harder you work, the more you'll make and all that.
And what it's funny that you bring that up, because we think we don't have the time to bring that into our everyday life. It only takes a few minutes to get regrounded, to get reset, to take that time for yourself. 5 minutes, 30 seconds of breathing, just breathing and allowing yourself, going outside, taking your shoes off, walking in the grass. Like, it only takes a little bit amount. And those small actions actually build up a lot more than we think they will. Because we think we need, 30-day sabbaticals are great. I took like a 60+ day, like I turned everything off. I stepped away because I'd gotten to that place of burnout and frustration and overwhelm. It was the best thing I could do for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. I want to go back to something you said earlier. We were talking about this, like, we don't have to people please, but you also talked about this self-love kind of thing. I've got a journal on my desk, and just last week I wrote down this quote from a networking thing I was at. It's from Byron Katie.
I
The
love
quote,
her.
okay, the quote is, "It's not your job to like me, it's mine."
Yes.
Can you tell us more about how we find that self-love, or at least a little bit of liking ourselves more?
Yeah.
Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah. And the the funny part about this is, we think it needs to shift overnight, or that it's so far outside of ourselves that it's just so hard. Back to that working really hard, when it's possible in the moment. One of the best practices that you can do is go stand in front of a mirror and look at that woman in the mirror, like really look at her in the eyes. Most of the clients I work with, I'm like, when's the last time you actually looked at yourself in the mirror? Like, truly looked at yourself in the mirror, and go love on that woman. Who is she? What do you love about her? And then you identify, like, also, what are the parts of me that I don't love? Like, I don't love my extra skin. I don't love, like, the critic that goes on in my head. I don't like that I doubt or I question, or I don't like that my journey seems to have been so hard and it's taking so long. And you turn it around, like, I love that inner critic because it's a part of me. It makes sure that I'm on alert and that I'm questioning things. But it's not all of who I am. So if you stand in front of the mirror, it gets really awkward at first. People, like, I don't want to cry. I don't want to do all the things. Like, this is really weird. But pouring love into yourself, starting with affirmations, a really good way. You may not believe them, but the more that you do them and you start to pay attention to what's coming up for you, you can see, like, oh, okay, this is a theme. There might be a little more work to do around this, but right now I know that I can say, oh my gosh, I love you. I love your eyes. I love your smile. I am powerful. I am abundant. I am, all of those things, just to at least start rewiring the brain that we're telling we're telling ourselves, because those beliefs, those are so deep into our subconscious. It's the story that we're attached to and been telling ourselves. We have to begin with stopping that and starting to rewire it. And it takes work. But most people want the quick, okay, if I say this, will I shift? Will it be quick? And it could be, most likely not, but it could be, because you have, however many years you've been on this planet, like, that you've been telling yourself the same story. So to rewrite, it takes very intentional practice.
Yeah. And I think you've got your own story here of some of that rewriting the story. How have you seen that then go from within, what's going on within the wiring of our brain, toward your story with money, and how does that translate there? What have
Yeah.
you seen?
Yeah, this has been one of the biggest shifts, and it's still shifting for me. Again, back to that, I have to work really hard. If I show up more on social media, then people are going to pay attention. Oh, if I do this reel or this TikTok, then that's going to go viral, and then that's going to, instead of thinking about it, if I do this, then this will happen. What if I just do this because it's me and it feels good?
Yes.
And who knows what that will bring in?
Mm-hmm.
If I can unattach myself to the outcome and just show up in all of who I am, the universe wants to provide, but we block ourselves off. And so I don't go into so much attachment now around, okay, what do I need to say? Okay, this person over here who's really successful is saying this. How can I say that but kind of reword it so it doesn't look like I'm ripping them off. Like, no, who is Katrina? Olive Katrina. And I went through a really deep spiritual immersion last week. And for the first time, I really found myself and really felt what it meant to be connected and in gratitude. And I came home and I had a new client right off the bat. And I haven't had a new client in quite some time. Could that be because of the work I did? Very possibly. But I wasn't attached to, like, if I do this work, then this means new clients are going to come in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. It's like you do the work because it's the work that is going to increase your self-love, make you more of who you want to be. And what I hear in that is just putting our authentic selves out there. People can smell that authenticity,
Yeah.
just like they can smell us being inauthentic and almost plagiarizing what someone else has said a mile away. That the authenticity is very attractive. And even if they didn't actually like experience that, there's something going on there, right? Like
Yeah.
they might not have even talked to you right
Yeah.
after that, or heard about the work that you were doing, and yet the way that you would have talked, lived, been in your skin just comes off very differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We think we're supposed to be chasing and going after and doing all these things. Like, we are good enough. We have enough right now, right here. And we're not going to get provided with more until we do this first step, until we recognize and are grateful, like truly grateful, not just a list of, oh, I'm grateful for a house today. I'm grateful I have food on the table. Like, really living out that gratitude, just like, thank you, life.
Yeah.
Thank you, life, for bringing me here now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to get to this, the work that you're doing and how that kind of boosts people along this journey, that they don't have to do it alone. How are, like, this new client, how are you going to work with them? What kind of results are they going to see? What do you do? How does it work?
Yeah. So I'm working with the women who have done some of the work, and
Hmm.
they've been doing all of the things. Been living in that do mode. They've been living in, okay, if I get more strategy, if I know enough, or if I know more, like consuming all the information. They've been in the programs. They probably hired a coach. They probably like read all the self-help books. They probably listened to all the podcasts. But it's not enough to know. It's not enough to have the knowledge. It's not enough. We have to bring it down into our body. We
Hmm.
have to bring it down into the cells of our being, and understanding, like, what works for me, because what works for me may not work for this other person. And
Right.
what's working for that other person may not work for me. And being able to really tune in and listen to that, because I've been a part of so many different programs and I was being told what to do. I know what to do. I'm a smart person. Like, I'm a really smart person.
Yep.
And I have enough knowledge, and Google is right there if I really need to learn how to do something. But it's about the way of being. And I see that with my new client. Like, she's very excited because she's been opened up to this world. Spirituality. What is spirituality? It's that knowing that there is a power greater than ourselves, whatever it is you believe, and bringing that into your daily life, showing some more gratitude, connection. How do I connect? Loving myself more, trusting myself, trusting that I know the path because I am always being divinely guided. And so, teaching to slow down, which is hard for a lot of us, being more intentional with how we connect, lighting a candle, having a breath work, buying myself some flowers, creating an offering, saying thank you. And within that, that opens yourself up, because we're so blocked off because we think we're supposed to be doing these things. And a lot of the things are not aligned with how we operate or who we are. That's actually blocking us from bringing in more money, from allowing the to get out of the box and have the more creative energy and creative ideas come through. When we follow our passion, that's when the profits start to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, this is so good. I can definitely you and I were talking about this before, how much that's been true of my story, of knowing um that I have a spiritual side, and paying attention to it has really guided a lot of big decisions. And I feel like I've made better decisions because of that. And it wasn't about like, so going back to this work analogy you were using earlier, a lot of us feel like that God or that higher power is just telling us what to do.
Yeah.
When in my vocabulary, he's created me in such a way that inside me already knows who he's created me to be, and he's already instilled a lot of that on my heart. But that I can just live it out, and I don't have to be worried as much about him being a taskmaster,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Because he's not.
No.
He's there to show me that he loves me and to help me love myself and love others better, right? Like, and if I can live into that more, but that's easier said than done.
Mhm.
Let's get into some like practical, actually there's been so many good practical tips. Let's say someone's like, okay, I feel like I'm okay at this, I do it pretty well, but I could always improve. What's like something that someone could do that's like quick win? Maybe they could do it right when we stop recording, or they could pause the video and just try it out right now.
I would say the biggest thing, a quick win, is just sit, take a moment to sit, place your hand on your heart and your other hand on your belly, and take a moment to just like breathe in and notice what's coming up. Notice where you feel it in your body and ask, what is this that I need to be aware of? Where's the work for me? What is my next direction? And when the message comes through, listen and go do that thing. Go do that thing. We will not be provided the next step until we go do that thing. Mm. And so just taking that moment to breathe in, and if nothing comes through, celebrate that. Celebrate that. I tell my clients often, because we come with these, we haven't reached our success, right? We haven't gotten there yet. Okay, what has happened in the last year that you're proud of or that you're excited for, and you just skimmed over it and you didn't celebrate it? I want you to write all the things down. Write them all down and celebrate every single one of them. Even if it's you got the laundry done today, celebrate that.
I love it. I can totally see that I do this with my son sometimes. Like, I coach him to like feel his body, to like reflect on the day. What is he grateful for? What is he proud of? But how much am I actually doing that with myself? And I know there's probably lots of other people watching, listening right now that can identify that way too. We do this so much. We encourage others to do this so much, but do we do it for ourselves?
Yeah. And to really get the full experience, to get the full openness, we've got to hold that space for ourselves first.
Yep. Yep. Wow. That's a mic drop right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to make sure to share with the folks at home?
No matter where you're at on your journey, just know that you are being guided. You are being led. And it doesn't matter if you feel like you've gone off the path at any point in any moment, you can get back on the path. And when you get off the path, where you feel like you're off the path, where you're struggling through a situation, give yourself the time to start asking a new question. What do I need to understand about this? And when the message comes through, and it's the messages that you've already heard, you already know this. No, I already know this. Like, what's a new understanding? And keep asking until the new understanding comes through. Because we've been so attached to our stories. Like, I know all these things. Like, I already know this. Okay, maybe there's something else here for you to learn. And don't be so hard on yourself. Like, give yourself so much grace and love and compassion, knowing that this is just that, a journey. There's no end result. There's no certificate at the end. We're just here to love as deep as we can and be in community with one another.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing, Katrina. Again, folks, you can learn more about her work, hear more of her story and her insights at the Magic Within podcast. I'm sure you can get that on all the different podcast channels and all of that. And you'll see yours truly on her show at some point as well. So another reason to go check it out and subscribe.
Yes, it definitely was a great episode.
Thank you. And there's so much here to like tuning out the world and taking some time to look within that can apply to whatever struggles or areas of growth people want to focus on. You don't have to be struggling to be able to say there's another area of growth.
No, you don't have to be struggling. If you have that inkling of just feeling like there's more for you, lean into that. This work is the foundation. To me, the inner work, this kind of work is the foundation for everything you do and will impact every area of your life.
Yeah. So before you go do the work, do the inner work.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We'll
Yes.
conclude there. Everyone, again, hit that like and subscribe button and check out the wealth within, or sorry, the magic within. Hey, there we go. There's a co show we should do together.
I love that.
The magic within podcast with Katrina, and then maybe in the future we'll talk about the wealth within.
Heck yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much, Katrina.
Thank you.